Wait, there's something very weak coming through.
Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings, so we, not this crude matter. You must feel the force around you. Here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between land and ship.
If Skywalker returns, the new Jedi will rise. There's been an awakening. Have you felt it? Yes. There's something more.
If you strip away the myth and look at their deeds, the legacy of the Jedi is failure, hypocrisy, hubris.
That's not true.
At the height of their powers, they allowed Darth Sidious to rise, create the Empire, and wipe them out. For many years, there was balance. By the time I realized I was no match for darkness rising, it was too late.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, fellow Galactic listeners. I'm Aaron Julian, and this is WSTR Galactic Public Access, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 141. Today, we're going to be talking about where we are less than 3 months out from the Rise of Skywalker, and we are talking about all those wacky, crazy conspiracy theories. Joining me today, as always, Mr. Todd Hoffman.
Hello there.
Excellent, as always, to have you back on
always,
the show.
My friend, yes.
You're the backbone of this podcast, the engine that keeps it churning through the night.
The coaxium that keeps the hyperfuel going, baby.
Exactly. We are missing somebody. Miss Heather Allred has the night off, so we bid her adieu, and we will see her once again very soon.
It's just two wild and crazy guys tonight, man.
Yep, it's guys' night in. So let's go ahead and pay some bills while we're at it. You can find everyone here except myself on social media, WSTR Media, all one word, all lowercase. You can email us at mailbox@wstrmedia.com. Leave us a voicemail at 630-557-WSTR. That's 630-557-9787. We want to hear from you, and you get to hear in just a few minutes some folks who have taken advantage of that and have called in and are now on the show. You can find our entire back catalog of episodes and all relevant links over at podcast.wstrmedia.com. And let me tell you why you should check out Audible. So as everyone knows, some of us have crazy long commutes to work. Todd is one of them, and I'm sure Todd can tell you that having a good audiobook by your side can cut that commute time down like nobody's business.
Absolutely.
So, fortunately, Amazon now has a audiobook streaming service by the name of Audible. Head on over to audibletrial.com/WSTR, and you can try it out for free by yourself. 30-day trial includes a free audiobook of your choice and now 2 free Audible originals. Those are little audiobooks that you can't find anywhere else, and only Amazon makes them. September's Audible originals are almost out, so go to audibletrial.com/WSTR and get your choice of 425,000 titles. Support this podcast. Everybody wins. We also got merch. So head on over to store.wstrmedia.com. You'll be blasted across the hyperspace lanes over to our merch store at Teespring. And you can cover yourself head to toe in WSTR merchandise. We've got hats, hoodies, tank tops, t-shirts, yoga pants, socks, anything and everything that you could want over at the merchandise store, store.wstrmedia.com. All right, we've paid the bills, Todd. Why don't you start us off with some news teasers?
Yeah, I'm not going to do an impersonation of Heather, but I will definitely tease that news. Okay, so first up, Mommy. Viva la Resistance.
Very nice.
Yeah. A special holiday.
Okay.
And the plane.
Whoa, that's going way back.
That's Fantasy Island for you right there. So, yeah. But, yeah, so that you got to hang on for a little bit to find out what that's all about. But we got intercepted Imperial transmissions.
Senator! Intercepted Imperial transmission, Mom.
So as Aaron teased earlier, we have a couple people that have, the operators were standing by, called into the WSTR hotline, and here we go. So first up, we have Pat and Charles from Conversations podcast. We had them on a couple weeks ago, and they are great gentlemen folk from the sunny state of Florida. And one of the questions we asked is like, talk about your encounters at Galaxy's Edge. And so they too were crazy like Heather and made it down there for opening day weekend there. And so here is their little stories about what happened in Galaxy's Edge. Aaron, play that thing.
Hey there, WSTR crew. Aaron and Todd and Heather. It's Charles.
And Pat from Conversations.
And we saw your question on Twitter about character encounters at Galaxy's Edge, and we've got 3 great little quick stories for you.
Yeah, if you recall from our time on your wonderful podcast, I had mentioned that I was making a cosplay for my daughter as Ahsoka from Rebels for opening day at the Galaxy's Edge. And she was taken in for questioning by some pretty zealous stormtroopers, which made for quite a spectacle in front of the large crowds. And then today we went back to Galaxy's Edge, and she was wearing Episode 9 Rey.
Yeah, Episode 9. Episode 9. Let me underscore that. Yeah, Episode 9. No one else was wearing. Not even Rey was wearing Episode 9 Rey.
No. She was still back in the olden times of Episode 8 Rey. But she actually saw Emily and made a beeline for her, and then they walked and talked about half of Black Spire Outpost. And I wasn't close enough to hear what they said, but they really had a wonderful interaction, and she loved it, and my Rey loved it. Her Batu Rey loved it, and so they really had a great interaction there, and then we went into the line for Smuggler's Run, and we were rounding the Falcon, and Chewie was in underneath the Falcon, probably making some hasty repairs for Hondo or something. And he saw her again while he was greeting random guests, and he came right over. And Charles was wearing his Steamboat Wookiee trademark, copyright infringement T-shirt. And was quite excited to show it to him as well. However, that was overshadowed by Emily's Rey get-up.
And rightly so, of course.
And really, it looked very similar to when to the Rey and Chewie hug that we see in the trailer for 9.
Right.
So.
And yeah, we'll send you guys some pictures of the encounters so you guys can see exactly what we're talking about and how awesome Emily looked and how those that hug looked for sure.
Oh yeah, they definitely came out really cool, and the experience was just awesome on all fronts, and all the cast members in the area are just in character and just really cool.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. We just wanted to send you a quick message about our encounters and with the characters, and can't wait to hear the next episode, guys.
Yeah, awesome. Looking forward to it.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, awesome. That's so cool. And they also send us some pictures, so we'll definitely post that on the socials about their experience at Galaxy's Edge. It sounds awesome. They kind of went all out. So with the cosplay and everything like that. So we have to definitely give them mad props for that, especially sweating your tuchuses off in the humidity that probably is just as humid as in Dagobah. I think. I don't know, man. Or Tatooine. Either one. I think humid as, Tatooine's more like a dry heat, Dagobah's
depends
like
on where you are in the state. Like if you're by the Everglades, you might as well be in Dagobah.
Right. Well, I mean, Disney did put it in the Everglades. He drains the swamp. It's like, here you go. So
yep.
So you have it. And then we got one more. This is Ro from Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. And he was talking about our episode last week with Michelle about Ahsoka. So, Aaron, play that thing.
Here it goes.
Hey, what's up, WSTR Media? This is Ro from the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. I'm sitting here in Evanston, having a relaxing afternoon, reading a couple of comic books, catching up to my stories with Dr. Aphra and Age of Resistance. And just finished listening to the podcast episode where you guys interview Michelle from the Fulcrum broadcast. I loved it. We loved her message of Star Wars inspiration. She's a great podcast, but I wanted to say that it was a great discussion that you guys had about Ahsoka Tano. I, too, remember when she was introduced that she was very annoying, and she has quickly grown into one of my favorite, I would say, top 5 Star Wars characters in recent memory. That goes with credit of the writing of the team with Dave Filoni, and obviously Dave, the creator of the character, but it is with great pleasure that I find that a lot of people are in the same boat. They love Ahsoka, and I really can't wait to see where else she pops up. My team, Team Scarif, we were talking about how difficult it would be to bring her into the movies. Her look is very unique. It's easier, I think, done in cartoons and comic books, obviously, but I think it would be a great technical coup to bring her character to the film. So I'm very excited if that ever happens, if they decide to do that. That would be such a great, great thing. So again, love you guys on the podcast. Looking forward to a major collaboration in the upcoming months. And may the Force be with you. And that's the Scuttlebutt.
All right. Thanks, Ro, so much for that insight and why Ahsoka and all that Clone Wars good stuff and why he likes it so much. So we really appreciate that. So that's all you have to do, guys. I mean, seriously, you just either email us, call us, and we'll get you on,
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. All right. We're moving right along, trucking right along. It is time for Twitter Trash Compactor.
Get in there, you big polio! I don't care what you smell! Get in there and don't worry about it!
Every week we are running those polls, and last week we were talking with Michelle, and who has the better nickname? So if you're not aware, both Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano gave themselves a little nicknames. And so because Ahsoka was a little snippy when she started, Anakin called her Snips, and then Ahsoka called Anakin Skywalker Sky Guy. Very mature, very awesome. So, Aaron, I know that gets you all choked up. So, what would you pick out of these two? Which one's your favorite?
Oh man,
if you have one.
Yeah, I'd probably say Sky Guy, just because if I were Anakin, that would drive me nuts.
Yes,
and the fact that Ahsoka sticks to it is hilarious. So. My vote's on Sky Guy.
Yeah, and there's kind of like there's some sacredness to the Skywalker name. Longer, like kind of bigger picture. Skywalker has kind of that reverence, and at this time, Ahsoka's like, whatever, you're Sky Guy, which is. It's kind of a play on words. So I would do.
It knocks him down a peg. I like it.
Yeah, it kind of keeps him level setted because in the Clone Wars, Anakin's a little he's a little heavy handed on himself. He's like, hey, I am the chosen one and all that, or whatever. But I agree with you. I picked Sky Guy as well, but Twitter disagreed with us. Oh. They want 65% snips. So I know. What do we know?
Well, another day, another disappointment with Twitter.
That's all it takes. Yep. Today of this recording, this is not really like it's kind of spicy, whatever. I don't care. It's happening on Twitter. It's Batman Day. I'm representing 80 years of Batman. So 9/21 Batman Day. So here,
awesome.
We gotta ask this question here, Aaron. Who is your favorite Batman?
My favorite Batman. Goodness.
There's quite a few. It's more rebooted than Spider-Man, so I'll tell you that, man. There's a lot of Batmans.
Yeah, so I actually grew up with the old Adam West Batman show.
Oh yeah.
When I was a kid, it was just a thing that me and my sisters and my dad would watch every week. They'd have reruns on, I want to say the CW or MeTV, one of those.
Sure, yeah.
It just happened to be like every week during every day during our dinner time. So we would end up watching it, and they'd actually run it in order. So you'd have cliffhangers on one episode, and it would be picked up the next day.
Dude, that is fantastic.
Yeah, there's some nostalgic value in the Adam West for me, but as far as who I like the most, I'm going for the big popcorn answer. I'm going with Christian Bale in the Nolan Batman films.
Dude, are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised by that one.
Are you?
Yeah. It's a great series. Don't get me wrong, and I think Christian Bale does a great job.
Although you can't go wrong with the Batman Forever bat nips.
Yeah. Was that Val Kilmer or was that George Clooney with the nips? I can't remember.
I want to say Clooney.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
But I could be mistaken.
Be careful. I hear you typing. Be careful what you Google here.
Google says Kilmer. Yeah, that was Mr. Joel Schumacher directing.
Oh yeah. That's with Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze. Yeah.
Yep, and Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
Yeah.
Excellent choice. Not my favorite Batman.
Yeah. Gotcha. This is not really in the films. I'm going Lego Batman.
Oh, interesting.
Will Arnett does the voice for Lego Batman, and both in the Lego movie and then the Batman Lego movie. It's just fantastic. It's like he takes him seriously, but at the same time, he's like, it's ridiculous, and they play on it so well. And I just love how Will Arnett is Batman, and it's just so funny. And it's like respect, but also making fun of it at the same time. And they do such a wonderful mix of it. And I do that. I love that so well. A close second is the animated Batman with gosh, what was his name? The voice actor. I'm drawing blank, and that kills me. Kevin something. He does such a good job.
Which series?
With the one with Mark Hamill as the Joker. That one, the original.
Kevin Conroy.
Thank you, Kevin Conroy. He is so fantastic. That's like the Batman voice I hear in my head all the time is that one. So
interesting.
Both non-film, but yeah, those are two of my favorites. But yeah,
okay, cool.
Happy
Batman Day.
Happy Batman Day. Happy 80 years, Batman.
So I didn't give my runner-up.
Oh, okay, yes, please do.
My runner-up would probably have to be Michael Keaton in the 1989 Batman.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just because, like, how stoic he is in that one is just such a great play off of Jack Nicholson's Joker, which is one of my favorite Jokers. Mm-hmm. But it is set off a little bit by the whole mom jeans thing that he's got going on as Bruce Wayne. You remember?
Yeah, I do. That was very 1989.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what kills me about those old Batman films is like the cowl, the headpiece, like doesn't articulate or turn. So they're always like leading every turn with their torso and their shoulders.
It's very they can't stiff. Move their neck. It's like one piece, I believe. Yeah. So there's a couple of shots in that movie where he has to do like a 180-degree turnaround, and it's hilarious just because it's his whole body that goes into it, and his eyes are straight ahead. I mean, it's straight up. He has a neck brace. That's what it is. It's just like
Yeah. It does give a cool kind of body language to that, but
it does. Yeah,
with Batman Begins, they're like, none of that. We're fixing the neck.
Yeah. No, this funny story about, I remember going and seeing that film, and somebody did the no Batman right before like right when they went dark and somebody screamed, and it was fun. Everyone laughed. It was great, but again, the first has a special part in that as well. So, well, happy Batman Day, Batman. So there you go. All right, Aaron, I think it's time to move on to our main topic.
Main topic away.
And now for our feature presentation.
All right, Aaron, we are literally less than 3 months from this thing, man. There's some theories. So, as of this recording, I think it was Friday, and 9/20 was technically 3 months away from the big dance, the big finale here. And so there is a recent article from Inverse that we want to kind of dissect, and then we're going to throw out our own crazy theories. So here's the title. Here's the clickbait. Here we go. And this is from Inverse. Rise of Skywalker Theory, how Luke triggered Palpatine's resurrection. And the little subtitle is this how the Force works? I don't know. So let's kind of peel this apart. Again, we're not going to go through the whole thing, but always the best theories, Aaron, come from Reddit. That's where it is.
It was posted to the Star Wars speculation subreddit, so
yeah. So this
you kind of know what you're getting into.
Yeah. So the Inverse article is kind of bringing some context to it, but we're going to get right down to the nitty gritty. So here we go. So as stated elsewhere, balance of the Force is not balance of the users, but the balance of power, which makes sense. Like good, evil, the powers to be. Okay. So
sure.
Reddit user, I'm not Cha-Cha74. I mean, that's legit right there. So one average Sith equals one average Jedi. 1-to-1 ratio. It's like a nice little recipe.
Makes sense.
Put one here, one there.
It's like making a fine cocktail.
Right,
one
exactly.
part this, 2 parts that.
Right, exactly. But one Palpatine equals many standard Jedi or one Luke. Okay. I'm following where this is going. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this. After his academy is destroyed, Luke finally understands that darkness rose against the Force imbalance he created with this academy. Basically, he's making all good guys. He's making a academy of good guys. So now you
7
got
parts light side.
Right.
All of a sudden, you should
Right.
expect like 8 parts dark side coming.
Right.
coming
And
around.
so, and this is kind of, it's somewhat said in canon, like that's kind of the reason he shuts off the Force, because he feels like part of it is I failed. And so I think I'm just going to shut her down. If you don't need me, sir, I'm going to shut it down for a little bit, you know? And part of it is he also, maybe it's because he's in the Force, he's actually creating an imbalance, So the Redditor, is that how you say it? Redditor? Is that?
I guess.
Reddit?
I don't want to be known as a Redditor, so out of respect for Cha-Cha74, let's just go ahead and say user.
Okay, so he shuts himself off away from the Force to keep a corresponding darkness out of the world. By coming back to the Force at the end of TLJ, The Last Jedi, he awakens that darkness, parentheses Palpatine, and we see the results in Episode 9. My prediction is Kylo is redeemed and destroys Palpatine in Episode 9. However, him coming to the light necessitates Rey moving toward the dark. Hence, Dark Rey from the trailer. It was kind of a little inner Batman there, like kind of have to drop it down a little bit, So, hence the Dark Rey from the trailer. Okay. So let's unpack this a little bit. What do you think about this 2-part, 1-part, 7-part thing going on here?
So it's actually much, in many ways, similar to my dark side virgin birth theory,
dude,
that I had years ago about Snoke.
That is like way back in the archives. But bring us up, bring the listeners up to speed on that.
Yeah. So way back when we didn't know who Snoke was. I guess that's still true. We had some wild speculations on this podcast about who Snoke was, who they would turn out to be. And my theory was that there's kind of a void in like a void of power within the Force once the Emperor Palpatine died.
Yes.
Well, I guess no one's ever really dead. But at the time, he was dead. And I'm like, okay, there's this kind of vacuum of power where balance, in quotes, has been reached in the galaxy, but really it's just way too much light side. And so, just like Darth Vader had his kind of virgin birth, in order to become the chosen one and restore balance to the Force, the dark and the light side. Now Snoke would turn out to be kind of the opposite of that for the dark side. He'd be a kind of virgin birth, Force power user, etc. Turns out none of that was true. But
we have to put pause because we haven't seen the final act. So
that's
you never
true.
know.
That's
you never
true.
know, dude.
No one's ever really gone.
That's
Snoke may return. With like a robot lower half of the body.
Oh, like AKA Darth Maul. Like
yeah. Or would that be using an idea again?
Yeah, that would be using Star Wars about reoccurring themes. Mostly,
it rhymes.
Right.
It's in circles. And that's what it appears Cha-Cha74 is getting at, where he says, okay, the balance of the Force is not in the number of users, it's in the power that they can tap into. And they're saying that Luke making his academy, like that's the thing that sets off
it triggers,
too much light side.
Right.
Yeah.
It triggers something in the dark side saying, yo, this is imbalance,
Yeah, the Force is tasting the stew and says, too much light side, better throw some dark side in there, and grabs for the pepper shaker.
Right.
And
ground pepper.
Yeah, and grinds up some Palpatine. So, it's basically saying that Skywalker is the one who, by doing his crazy Force nonsense with the Academy and with projecting himself across the galaxy, it's like, whoa, way too much light side. And
don't be doing that Force projection Doppelganger stuff.
Yeah, and so dark rises to meet the light, and here comes Palpatine.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, that's seriously a great line in the Force Awakens trailer.
Yes.
And this is the essence of what we're trying to figure out here. It's like, okay, what is the Force? We still don't know after 40-something years, does it have consciousness? Because technically what we're saying is like, in your theory about like kind of the dark side version of birth, is like the Force felt an unbalance and created Anakin to fill that void, right? We have the other theory going on that was kind of hinted at the Marvel Comics, that maybe Papa P was trying to mess with the midichlorians and create something. There's that little theory going on, but again, that's not totally, that's interpretations, So it's like, does the Force have this consciousness where it's like, does it feel it, feel this power struggle that is being used? And because again, it's both the Jedi and the Sith are using it as a tool in a sense, and not really, I don't know. So it's like,
you're getting at the heart of the matter, and it's that nobody really knows how the Force works. It seems like, I think a big split in it is how you perceive it to be, because there's a lot of evidence that would say it's kind of like in a very Buddhist sense, it's this kind of life force field that doesn't have a will or a way in any one direction or another, but it's about the people who tap into it to use its power towards certain ends.
Yes.
And then there's another school of thought that says it is very much like that, but the Force kind of has a will of its own. It might be closer to the Christian idea of the Holy Spirit, in that it lives and works in the people upon whom it finds favor, and it kind of steers things this way, steers things that way. And it's the dark side who tries to kind of cage and influence that Force into, selfish, evil acts.
Yes.
And it's the light side who tries to discipline themselves to it and go with the will of the Force to more selfless, good moral acts. So there's a lot of different ways to take this, but the ultimate thing is we don't know what the Force is, how it works. We don't know what balance means when it comes to the Force.
Interesting,
except that, according to Destiny, Darth Vader killing Palpatine somehow restores balance to the Force. Before, it was imbalanced, and at that moment, balance was restored. Or so we think.
Right. So where do you stand, Aaron, on this? Do you feel like it's...
It's hard to say because of what I just outlined, but the biggest, I'm more inclined to think of the Force as in the kind of Buddhist sense, where it's just like this field to be tapped into, this kind of reserve that you can build up your talent or ability to tap into it, and then it's really, the ball is in your court as far as how you're going to use it. But the biggest knot in that 2x4 is the fact that Anakin was born as a result of the Force as the father, because that is either the most, well, it is the most unlikely event to ever happen in the Star Wars universe, but it's like, as a result of some kind of cosmic snap where it's just like a random event that happened to occur at that place and time, or is it the will of the Force, or is it even the Force manipulated by Palpatine to create life? We just don't really know. But there seems to be evidence pointing either way as to whether the Force has a will or not. But I think it's safest to bet that it's merely like this impartial power to be tapped into. It seems to be the way it works most of the time.
A conduit, basically.
Yeah, exactly. As far as what balance means for that, I've got no idea, except that probably in like the mythological sense that kind of unchecked power leads to the destruction of the world.
Right.
And that if you have too many dark side force users who are killing people left and right and using the power of the force to their own ends and selfish gains, it's like if you carry that out to the extreme, then they're just going to wipe everybody off the face of the planet. And then total destruction, and that's certainly imbalance. I'm not sure exactly what it means on the light side, if there's too many light side people. You'll probably have something like the Jedi Order, where it's just like all, it's too, the practice of using the Force is too controlling and strict. Okay. And they become old and fossilized and can't respond to new threats to the galaxy and don't know how to control a clone army and end up becoming their own demise.
Right.
That's probably too much light side.
Gotcha.
So balance is probably somewhere in the middle.
Right. Somewhere right there. Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I don't know if I have like a solid like one way or the other, because I go back to Empire, where Yoda's like, it's between you, the rock, the tree, that's the living force, that's the stuff that, in between what's living here and the present, you can interact with things, and how you manipulate things and all that stuff is how Yoda is describing the Force to Luke. And it's in all life forms, but what Qui-Gon is doing, in the sense when he, comes back in Jedi spirit, and now we see, that happened with other Jedi like Luke and Obi-Wan and, all that kind of stuff. That's more of the kind of the cosmic force. So like your essence, in a sense, is then pushed into, as you die, it kind of goes into this cosmic force. And, Qui-Gon's the first one to kind of like maintain his consciousness and kind of come back out. It's like, hey guys, how you doing? Yeah. I'm back, and because I'm part of this huge cosmic force, and that's kind of where you say, could the cosmic force in a sense have a will and say, yo, you have all these dark side users and it's pulling and tainting the kind of living force, and we need to balance that out, and that's kind of where you get the virgin birth from Anakin, so like now when you say balance, like what does that mean? What does that mean for like a person, and what does that mean for overall, like could, and kind of, I lean towards Last Jedi, where we kind of want to see where episode 9 goes, is that Luke's second lesson to Rey is basically he goes into his little rant and basically saying, it's hubris to feel like the Jedi own the Force, or we, there's a light, we don't own it. It's not ours to own,
Right.
And it's very powerful, because I feel like that's where we're kind of going in episode 9. It's like, it seems like no one owns it. It's just a method of how you use it, in a sense, for a Jedi or a Sith, And so here we come, episode 9, Cha-Cha 74 here. It's got a good point. Too many different parts in the sense that by Luke coming back into the Force, going extreme, just tapping into it and kind of creating this Jedi Academy, in a sense, is resurrecting the worst bad guy, or the true Phantom Menace and Emperor Palpatine. And it's like, okay, so now it's really like, okay, well, what does this mean at the end of the day? Like, what we love the saga. Like, what does it mean at the end of the day? Like, what do we want to see happen here? And I think that's why we have these crazy theories,
Yeah. And I'd like to present a counter argument to Cha-Cha 74's point. This is One Man in His Hat on Reddit.
Okay.
He says, this is not the way balance works in the Force. Balance in the Force is when the natural light and dark, life and death, exist in their natural proportions. Things live and things die. That is how the life cycle works. That is balance.
Yeah.
The Jedi seek to preserve that balance. If the Force is a river, they flow along with it, following its course and removing blockages that would disrupt its natural flow.
Right.
The wise Jedi uses the Force, but also listens to its guidance. The goal is to be in harmony, to be one with it. The Sith, however, use the Force for their own ends. They are not concerned with the natural balance of the Force, but with what its power can do for them. In using the Force in this way, they bring it out of balance. They create too much destruction, or conversely, create or sustain life in an unnatural way. Non-Sith also do this through acts of greater or lesser evil in their own way, but the Sith are the great enemy because they can use the Force itself to imbalance the light and dark, which is a greater perversion. So whether it's Palpatine with his lightning, or Plagueis manipulating the midichlorians, both are misusing the Force to directly influence life and death. Anakin's start down the dark path is when he considers using the Force unnaturally for selfish reasons. Conversely, Luke's greatest Jedi moments are acts of nonviolence for the sake of others. The role of the Jedi is not to stop all darkness, such as death, but to stand against unnatural darkness. They are not the light that requires corresponding darkness to bring balance. They are the light that stands as a wall against the darkness to prevent it from encroaching beyond its natural boundaries. If you think about the yin-yang symbol from Taoism, which is part of the inspiration of the Force idea, the natural state is a mixture of light and dark. The Jedi's job is to keep the white and black parts in correct proportion by standing against those who would change it. That is a pretty well-rounded take on it, I would think.
Yeah. Well, two things with that. I think I will agree because, Mace says this in Revenge of the Sith. He's like, hey, we got to go to the Senate and just tell them we can't use the Force really well. Our ability to use the Force is like kind of because what Palpatine is doing is putting a big dam in Coruscant in a sense, because it's like drawing away. He's drawing all this power from the Force, and the Jedi that are there, Jedi Masters, are like, dude, I'm not hearing the Force today,
Yeah.
And so that's what's going on, and that's why it's clouded, And then you go back to kind of Palpatine's speech to Anakin in the opera scene. One of my favorite things of like all time is like one would think is unnatural. Like talking about bringing people back from life and death. That's the plug he uses to get Anakin. It's like, I know you like Padme, you lost your mama, but we'll keep Padme alive forever. It's not weird. It's cool. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
She won't age a bit. You might age a little bit. Whatever. There's Botox for that or something. But it's like again, Sith is doing it selfishly and kind of, in a sense, putting a dam on the Force to basically hoard all that energy for themselves and manipulate it in the way they want it and all that kind of stuff. So I agree with that as well. I'm just trying to say, okay, at the end of the day, we got Rey, Kylo. What does that mean? What do you think? And I don't know. I'm very interested to see, because I'm kind of feeling like a person, like if I look at it from a spiritual perspective, a person is both dark and light at the same time.
Yeah.
And if you're on a spiritual quest, the idea is that you have to put those demons, that darkness aside, and do the best you can every day to be a better person in the light, that kind of thing. Everyone always has to be in balance to do better,
Yeah.
If you want to become evil and you want to do things that are just selfish, that's the road you take, and you don't care about others. You only care about yourself and what using people for a better outcome. And you can see Palpatine do that he's enslaving races, taking resources, destroying planets. It don't matter. He's going to get the job done, whatever, in a bad sense, whatever it takes, if I'm using Avengers, whatever it takes. That's what the Sith are doing. And that's what Palpatine's ultimately doing, is saying, I want this thing for me. No if buts or coconuts. And again, it's like he has Anakin. Anakin gets burnt. He's like, I want Luke now because the son of Skywalker will be a powerful ally. And he's just using whoever he can to get, he wants to be numero uno, Right. And I think at the end of the day, I as much it would be great to kind of like have this kind of cliffhanger ending. It's kind of like Episode 9 or Rise of Skywalker is like, you have Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, and you have the Rise of Skywalker. There's a cadence there, and I would say at the end of the day, it's going to be more uplifting. And so if that's Rey sacrificing herself, Kylo sacrificing himself for the better good to bring balance and show people we have to, if we're going to make the galaxy at peace, we have to work together in some form or fashion, Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's ultimately the lesson to take away from this is that there needs to be some kind of collaboration for the Force to come into balance. Right. And it's like you said, we work on ourselves to try to be a better person every day and to put away the evil that is within us. Right. The Taoist perspective on that would be that it's more like you need to be in control of the evil parts of you so that sometimes you need to be a lean, mean fighting machine. And, So you need to be able to have that at hand and be able to use it, but not have it use you. You need to be in control and guide and direct it to keep it in balance with everything else.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's what we really need with Rise of Skywalker.
Yes, exactly. All right. We have you have a crazy theory that you brought up a while back, and let's dissect that for a second. You mentioned time travel.
Yeah. So
what's your crazy theory here?
So I'll be honest, this theory is less pulled from the actual source material of the story and Star Wars itself, and more kind of outside the movies, like what is going on with the studios and what Disney is doing. So my theory is because plot-wise and story-wise, Disney, the sequel trilogy is kind of in a mess right now. Because you have a bunch of different story hooks that get set up in The Force Awakens. Well, first of all, it's a soft reboot, but some of the details changed. But you have a bunch of things set up in The Force Awakens, Snoke as a villain, Kylo Ren and Rey, what their backstories are. And then pretty much all of that is knocked down in The Last Jedi, where a lot of that is deconstructed, but it leaves as many questions as answers it brings. And so Disney's in this really weird place where they have one movie to finish all of that off, and try to make it as coherent as possible. Yeah.
I was just going to pause you real quick. It's like, talk about imbalance. You have these crazy fanboys that are like in an uprising, and you need to bring balance in Episode 9. So that's what I was trying to plug in there.
So, and we know that they have drawn a lot of inspiration from how Marvel is handling their universe insofar as how they're going to now treat Star Wars and feed into it, both from TV series and, they're going to plan out their movies years in advance, which they haven't done, but they at least have release dates for all the movies in advance. And something that Marvel did to kind of fix a lot of hanging issues in Infinity War was in Endgame, they introduced the concept of time travel. And that was Well, first of all, leading up to that point, the story was a lot more coherent, and there weren't as many issues with the plot and plot holes and unanswered questions and missed expectations and everything. So Marvel's already kind of on a good foot, but they were able to use time travel as a way to kind of wrap up the entire, Marvel Cinematic Universe up to that point. Whereas in Star Wars, time travel has never been done. That's never been a tactic that Lucasfilm or Star Wars or Disney have ever used. So, they've done the new characters thing. They've done the new force powers thing. They've done the let's kill off main characters thing. They've done the Luke is using the Force in new ways thing. What they've never done is actual time travel. So to explain things that show up in the Rise of Skywalker trailer, my theory is, given that we have a dark side Rey, we have Palpatine back from the dead, we have Sith troopers who look like First Order troopers, even though the Sith are wiped out. We have...
and they were, if they were in hiding with Palpatine, they didn't know about the armor detail,
Yeah, it's strange, to say the least. We have characters like Zora who look like Old Republic, kind of that kind of aesthetic. And most importantly, we know that Disney has called for like a I'm probably using the word wrong, but moratorium on any Old Republic stuff until the sequel trilogy is done. And so, given that we know all of that, my theory is that for reasons we don't know yet, Palpatine has either never died or has come back from a long stay in the underworld, and he is challenging our heroes once again. They need to try to fight this great evil. We know the Death Star is involved somehow, so my theory is that that's where his body is. That's where his Force Ghost has hung out for a little bit. That's kind of where all his power is concentrated. Our heroes need to go there to meet this new threat. Turns out to be too great, and darkness rises and light to meet it, and we're going to see a great duel between Force Luke and Force Palpatine, and it's going to be a stalemate. But in the resulting scuffle,
in the scuffle,
this is a force fight like we've never seen before. It's going to tear into the fabric of time and space and reality itself.
Oh boy!
And our heroes are going to be caught up in this and end up time traveling because they figure there's nobody left in the Resistance. The First Order is at the gate, ready to destroy us. Why don't we just go back in time and try to fix all of this? But I think they're going to be sent way back to Old Republic days. They're going to run into characters like Zora. There's another theory going around that there's basically like a standing clone army put together by Darth Revan way back in the Old Republic days that has never been called upon yet. And what they might do is try to bring that army into the present in order to fight off the First Order, but something goes horribly wrong, and instead you bring back a bunch of Sith troopers. Or in fact, this could be Kylo going back in time to rally forces for his side. We don't know yet. It could be that our heroes are trying to gather up a bunch of Jedi from the Old Republic days where you could throw a stick down a hallway and hit 5 Jedi. Forces being brought back. Yeah. But once you have time travel, you have the big bugbear, which is alternate timelines. So you change an event in the past, and reality kind of forks off from that and becomes its own thing, and suddenly you have a hypothetical reality where things could have gone very differently, and I think Dark Rey is part of one of those alternate timelines.
Wow. Dude. Second level here. Okay. All right.
And it's great because you can use time travel to rewrite any kind of plot hole that you want because you're literally going back for a fresh start.
You're throwing that spackle everywhere, man. You're just
you get to pick and choose from the best of Star Wars history, put together your greatest hits album, and that leaves the fans happy, assuming you use that to cover up all the plot, shall we say, deviancies, then you get a satisfying end to the trilogy. Fans are happy, Disney's happy, everybody's happy if they can pull it off. and if they do, they've now set up for the future actual development into the Old Republic timeline where they could be like, oh, remember those characters in the Old Republic? Well, they're turning up in our new trilogy. And they could finally leave the Skywalker soap opera in the past.
Until you tie travel again.
That is my grand Rise of Skywalker time travel theory.
Wow. Well, okay. I see where you're going with that. I understand it. There's two things. One in Legends, they do have this thing called it's like not like Flow Rider, but it's called like Flow Walking, and they in a sense they go into this deep meditation status and are able to kind of time travel through the Force, and not that they can interact with people, but they can go back in time and see the past and see, from like coming from like a Spectre kind of perspective, and they can kind of, based through the Force. And so there's things like that are mentioned in Legends. And then in Rebels, they introduced this kind of theory of world between worlds where you can see these different things happening all at once in this big kind of space continuum, and things could happen. And so it's not highly unlikely. I mean, there is possibility there.
They've
but
been easing us into the idea. It's just not something they've done in the major films yet.
Right. So you got to think of like, from a bigger audience perspective, it's like an inverse triangle, right? So it's like, if you're really nerdy, you're listening to Star Wars podcast and doing all this stuff, you're listening to you're reading the comics, you're reading the books, all that stuff happens way down here, the minutia. But like the big story up here is the movies, and as you get lower in the pyramid, it's like really tight. And so something like what you're saying, and somebody that is not into Star Wars animation and all this kind of stuff, it's like, well, what's happening? It's possible to do that, but that's kind of like a second or third level or fourth level, kind of thing. And I don't know, but it would fix like some plot holes, and it could fix like, we're going to try to rewrite this thing and get it back on course in a sense. I just don't know if you could do that all in like a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah.
It
could just be a fantastic, glorious mess. And we'll be along for the ride.
Right. Exactly. Because you start, then you're like, oh, and then these people came in and they helped him. And, it could get really crazy really fast. That's what was surprising about Solo, is when they brought Darth Maul back. Everybody's like, dude, he died in Phantom Menace. Well, you got to go to an animation, and he stayed alive because he was angry, got some spider legs. After his spider legs, he got regular legs, and all this stuff, which was great. I mean, that's like, it was huge because it validates like animation and saying, you got to watch animation because there's a lot of things going on there. But people from a wider audience, I'm just here having popcorn like Star Wars, we're like, dude, he died in Phantom Menace. It's like, well, you gotta,
Yeah.
So I don't know. They could blow the doors open and say, hey, there's some other things. If you really want to get second level or third level, you got to go back and watch all this stuff. And that could obviously fuel the fire for what's going to happen 2 or 3 years from now with Rian Johnson's and the Game of Thrones dudes kind of movies, and kind of, I don't know. Some of that stuff you're talking about, that would be great in a TV show, that kind of format. But I don't know. I mean, it's a good theory, man. I like it. I like it.
I can't wait to be proven wrong.
Yeah. It's like, this is my 4-hour manifesto. You know?
Yeah.
I want to mention two other quick ones before we wrap this up. The other thing is Finn, right? So at the state of the resistance, the Republic, whatever you want to call it, the rebels, they're often the Millennium Falcon, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that really kind of tease off Phasma in a sense is like we have one unruly stormtrooper. Like we're brainwashed and kind of, we're scrubbed clean and we don't know our origin story and we're just good little soldiers, right? And Phasma's like, you're one bad apple and I don't want that in my regiment or, whatever squad. And so Finn kind of saying I could be better is the interesting story. And there's this thing like maybe Finn helps, hey, if he can do it, we can do it too. And this starts this basically stormtrooper uprising is another theory that's been kind of flown around. And what visual better way than say, oh, white guy's good now, red guy's bad. And it's easy visually to say, oh, even though the stormtrooper against stormtrooper, red guy's bad, white guy's good. And it helps, in a sense, the whole, clone troopers manufactured for war, all this stuff. And we find on the Clone Wars that they're people. They have identity. They have nicknames for each other. They're not just these, meat bags for war, even though that's their main purpose, design purpose. It kind of gives a whole story like now these kids that are abducted now have a story too, and they want to do better in a sense and get out of the fascism and empirical state and say we want to have, and that helps with like the resistance having no army.
Okay.
So that's one theory. It's very interesting. It could happen. And, the other one that I thought was very interesting, and I heard this on Kessel One Weekly, shout out to them, is, and you would like this, and this is from they interviewed Juliana Juju Kitty 2323 on Instagram there. Mm-hmm. She had the interesting idea about like putting it with like Zelda, how like Zelda is, kind of like a little bit of time travel, but more of like an incarnation where Link is always a boy and there's always a princess and there's always an evil. There's three, like a Triforce, good, like that kind of thing. And
they like keep showing up throughout history.
Yes, but it's not technically the same person, but it's technically the same idea. Evil princess, boy who finds out that he's more than just a boy, he's a hero and saves the princess and tries to defeat evil, Right. And so she kind of brought up this point of like, it's almost like Rey is the incarnation of the Force and trying to guide the Force. And that is also very interesting and kind of plays into that time travel thing where like, they can spackle it in a way to make it work, it's another good theory, but again, I'm always trying to think about like, how can they explain that and how can they do that in a 2.5 hour movie and still develop other characters along the way? So,
yeah, it's gotten so bloated that it's almost a fool's errand to try to do anything, but we got a movie.
We got a movie. Guys, it's finished.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that kind of blows. This thing's baked in the oven. It's out of the oven. Mm-hmm. All they're doing is sprinkling on a little sound and a little CGI, and this thing's ready to go. So it's like.
Did you notice that Kylo Ren's cape was missing in the trailer?
Okay.
So what they usually do is they add capes and stuff in with CGI.
In post? Okay.
In post, yeah. So, and something for trailers, they often don't finish all the CGI and effects. They're like not all done yet.
Yes.
So if you rewatch the trailer, there's a bit where Kylo's fighting Rey on top of this metal hull thing, part of the Death
the
Star,
water's crashing and stuff.
Yeah, and it's like it's raining and water, and it's like if you notice, he's got a cape on, but there's a puddle near him with a reflection, and in the reflection, there's no cape. Because they didn't finish up that reflection effect yet. So I guess that's what they're working on right now.
That's right. So in conclusion, we don't know what we don't know. These are all good theories. I mean, I kind of like the equal parts thing of, and I like the time travel thing. Maybe we could, if they could just like merge that all together and make some. Like I said, it's already out of the oven, guys. It's already done. There's people that know the ending of this thing, and that drives me insane. But that's okay. It's only we're less than 3 months away here. So, but yeah, I'm sure we're gonna get some more Redditors or Reddit users with these great theories, and so it's all good things. It gets people talking. So and it keeps us interested as well as we near the finale. So, Aaron, take us to that news, man.
And now, the Star Wars news of the week.
All right, news of the week. We're going to fly through these here because we are running out of time. This is from Esquire. Star Wars fans found an unused script that could explain the truth about Rey's lineage in The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, here we go with the parents.
So we got fans who are digging through the Star Wars Underworld television series that never was, but George Lucas's ideas for the show may shed some light on where the heck Rey actually comes from. So before, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a quote from, I guess, a piece at Sci-Fi, SYFY.
Yeah.
Is that the crappy sci-fi TV station?
Yes.
I forgot they rebranded. Anyway, when I was working at Lucas, I was allowed to go up to the ranch and read the scripts for the canceled live-action Star Wars TV show. It was the most mind-blowing thing I'd ever experienced. I cared about the Emperor. They made the Emperor a sympathetic figure who is wronged by this heartless woman. She's this hardcore gangster, and she just totally destroyed him as a person. I almost cried while reading this. This is the Emperor, the lightning out of the fingers Emperor. That's something magical. The writers who worked on that, guys from The Shield and 24, these were excellent writers. So, Palpatine is very much humanized. He had a gangster wife, I suppose. And so the theory is that Rey is the product of this union. So
interesting.
Could be the basis of the connection between Rey and the Dark Lord. They've been taking inspiration from old expanded universe Legends projects. Wouldn't it be too out of the ordinary? The theory is Palpatine had children with this mysterious hardcore gangster woman. They believe Palpatine's daughter to be Kira from Solo. She's the crime boss in the film, who is played by Emilia Clarke.
Yeah.
They then predict that Kira and Han Solo actually had a child together at some point in their relationship who could be Rey, which would make Rey and Kylo step siblings, and Palpatine Rey's grandfather.
Grandpapa.
So, is Papa P really Grandpapa P, Todd? What are you thinking?
No.
Too wild a theory?
That's too wild for me. I'd rather have... Yeah, that's too wild for me, man. I'd rather have this time travel thing or incarnation than she's the great granddaughter of Papa P. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
It's too much, again, that's too much backstory. I'm just going to, guys, you got 2.5 hours to kind of do these broad strokes, and how are you going to cram that backstory in? I mean, there's ways to do it in film, obviously with flashbacks and things like that. But I just don't see it, so.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along. Viva la Resistance. So last week, there were the Saturn Awards, and Ashley Eckstein, also known as Asaka Tano, which we talked about last week with Michelle. She was doing the Best Animated Television Series announcement for the Saturn Awards, and it was Star Wars Resistance.
How about that?
Yeah, so they won the Saturn Awards for Best Animated Television Series. So there you go. And it's only going to be 2 seasons. It starts again back on October 6th.
Yep.
And the first season will be available at launch for Disney Plus on November 12th. So then that's when I'm going to catch up. So I have not watched any Resistance. But obviously it's making some strides and getting recognition, which is great.
Yeah.
And it bridges the gap between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, which is great. And season 2 is coming out soon, and it's winning awards, so that's cool. You're not going to believe this. Here's another thing, Aaron.
Yeah.
John Favreau. He
Blessed
is like
be his name.
Yes, him and Dave Filoni are like the bromance I just love. And so now they're making kind of these press junkets and stuff like that. And so Entertainment Weekly or Entertainment Tonight, Ash Crossan was interviewing John Favreau, and John Favreau basically says he wants to do a Star Wars holiday special on Disney Plus.
A remake or putting it on there?
No, putting it on there. He's like, I have. He literally quotes, I have a pitch in. He tells Ash, asking everyone to watch everyone watching to let Disney Plus know if we want to see it. So there you go.
I'm sending them an email every day until we get it.
We do have the personal email address for Bob Iger, so we're just going to email him right now and just say, hey, Bobby, let's put this on. I mean, that's just great. I think it shows again that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are doing something amazing in Mandalorian, and they have the pulse, and they know what the fans want, and Thou That Shall Not Be Named, the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like you have to, if they remade it and made it like corny but also awesome at the same time, it could be wonderful. And Disney Plus is definitely the avenue to do that. So
they should just put it in. I don't think they should remake it because
just put it in.
Lightning, it's not going to strike twice.
Well, lightning never struck the first time.
Yeah.
All right, man. What else we got?
All right. LATAM, their airline group, unveils a stunning Star Wars inspired Boeing 777. So, as we all know, airplanes, they get something called livery, which is just a very fancy paint job.
Okay.
And let's see. So LATAM Airlines Group has just unveiled the stunning Star Wars-inspired livery on its Boeing 777-300ER aircraft. It was designed by Disney's creative team and Lucasfilm. Lovingly painted using stencils, pays homage to the Star Wars stormtroopers of the First Order.
Dude,
So go ahead and you can actually fly in it. It's going on routes between Brazil's Sao Paulo International Airport and Orlando, Miami, Madrid, Paris, and Frankfurt.
There you go.
So keep an eye on it. You might be flying with the First Order there.
Yeah, it's got like on the back fin. I know this is podcasting, so you can't really see it. You have to just go to the link. But on the back fin, the main fin, it has like First Order Stormtrooper, and using the black and white, paint job. It looks sharp. It looks cool.
It really does.
It would be. I mean, even if anything, it's like you're at the airport and you see that thing, docked in docking bay 94. You're like, dude, that's it. Gate 94. I'm right there. So it'd be cool. Cool. Awesome.
All right. And if I could add a news of the week thing here.
Sure. Absolutely.
I was listening to the H3 podcast. There are a couple of YouTubers who now they mostly just do podcasting. But anyway, they had comedian Bill Burr on their show last week. And they got to talking, and he's actually revealed that he's going to be on The Mandalorian. He was filming a couple of side parts for that. So
shut the front door.
Yeah, he... We should tweet out the link to the podcast because it's great. But he was talking about working on the set with Jon Favreau, and they had by the time his part was being filmed, they had enough footage to put together the trailer for it, and they showed the entire cast. And good old Billy Burr there. He's very optimistic about The Mandalorian. He thinks it's cool as heck. And the way he put it is that if you look at his IMDb page, he has this weird kind of tendency to kind of like parachute into a bunch of like really, really good projects. Like he's been in Breaking Bad, The Chappelle Show. He's in F is for Family, like all these great series, and he somehow just like ends up in each one. So if the pattern holds true, Mandalorian is going to be something very special to watch out for. But
awesome.
Yeah, here's a clip of him talking about that right now.
Mandalorian, apparently you can't talk about it, but you...
Well, I can't say what happens.
Okay, you can't say what happens, but tell me what you can. Let's say that. What can you say about it?
I can tell you it looks sick.
Okay.
Like everybody else. Like I've always been like a sports fan, and I was, I didn't grow up on Star Wars. Right. I kind of, by the time I discovered it was out there, I was more into my fast times at Ridgemont High.
Mm-hmm.
So, teenage years. So, and they were into Ewoks at that point, so it just didn't connect.
Yeah.
And, but I did, Empire Strikes Back I did like. So, I don't know. I just, how the hell did it come together? Just over the years of getting to know Mike Binder and working with Vince Vaughn's company and Peter Billingsley with F is for Family. Eventually, you're going to meet Jon Favreau, which I did. And that's how I ended up doing that episode of his cooking show. We had a good time. You get along. So much of this business is meeting somebody. It's like, I like this guy. I could be on the set with this guy for, 12 hours a day. 14 sometimes. And I was at Mike Binder's birthday party, and John was there. He said, hey, man. He goes, I'm doing the next Star Wars. I was like, oh, wow, that's great. And he goes, would you ever want to do like a part in or something like that? And I kind of laughed. I was like, dude, I always make fun of those Star Wars people trying to annoy them every time one of those movies comes out, just to be a dick. And he goes, no, I think it'd be funny, because I think it'd be funny if the people that listen to your podcast actually saw you on that. And I was just like, really? And my wife was there. She was like, yes, say yes. You will.
Yeah,
I go, all right.
say yes.
All right, I'll do it.
You got it.
And well, see, but my Star Wars was like the Magnificent Seven. It was like The Great Escape, Bridge Over the River Kwai, Cool Hand Luke. That's what I grew up on. Those were the movies that I loved, and I loved all of those. Kelly's Heroes, all of that stuff. It was the stuff. The Dirty Dozen, and all of those. That's what I grew up on, and that's what I loved. And so I don't know. I didn't understand, as weird as this is, the magnitude of something like that. Because John just kept laughing at me. He goes, dude, you don't understand. You don't understand.
It's the
dude. And then I went in this
thing.
super creepy thing where you just stand there and there's like a zillion, like this is just like, when they go to do the action figure thing, like there's like
They
like
rendered
8 feet
your
high,
body,
just
right?
Camera.
That's
and then,
serious
and
stuff.
then you stand there and you're just like, oh my God, did I just give away my DNA to Disney?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that was weird.
So what's the purpose of that? To CGI your body? Like, that seems pretty serious.
I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of it was, but I was just sort of let in there, and that's kind of what you did. And I guess they make an action figure or something.
Oh, no, we're going to get Bill Burr stuff.
I don't know. That was...
It sounds pretty serious. Let me ask you this: Are you?
But I'll tell you this. But then when I went down there, it was Rick Famuyiwa is the one who directed it, and he just was. I don't want to say how he was shooting, but how he was shooting it was so cool, and it was like, I mean, you saw the trailer, you know, the stormtrooper heads on the stakes and
Amazing.
stuff. This is, it's just like,
Was
it
this
was
the-
badass.
Was this the craziest shoot you've been on? I mean, it doesn't really get crazier budget than Star Wars, does it?
No,
It
no,
doesn't.
I don't know if, like, there was a room that they had. I mean, are you allowed to talk about the technology?
Yes.
It's just like you walked into the room, and then the door closed around you, and you were just surrounded by this giant green screen, and then they just projected like all of this stuff.
The whole world.
Yeah, so you'd be talking to somebody. If I move like this, like the background moved behind you, you get like vertigo.
No way.
Yeah, so
I heard it's the highest budget show ever made, right, Dan? What was the budget on that thing? Like 25 million
I
an
think
episode?
it's like 15 or 20 mil an episode.
Like more than Game of Thrones per episode.
Oh my god! But I got to tell you this: if you see the trailer, like when he showed me the trailer, because you know you're always you're just like this close to it. You don't even know what's going
Right.
on,
Mhm.
and also they just give you like your sides for the scene. You don't know what's going on for the most part. And then like on my last day, fortunately, my episode I think was far enough into the season where they had a rough cut of the trailer. And he showed it to the whole crew on that big round thing. And the last scene I was doing, I was way up on this, I don't know what the hell it is, scaffolding type thing. So I was standing up there just watching this, the size of a brownstone, projection of it. And I was just like, that's when I got excited. And I went from like, hey, this is pretty cool to like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to be in this.
Yeah.
It was really fun scenes. Lot going on, and the other actors that I got to work with. It was pretty. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was pretty.
I'm excited.
It was intense.
Yeah.
It was definitely long days, like a lot of stuff like that. But it was. I think it's gonna be sick.
I'm excited.
And I kind of have this running theme, if you look at my IMDb page, where I sort of somehow parrot troop into these really cool things for like a second. A couple sketches on Chappelle's show, a couple episodes of Breaking Bad, and I just sort of like, hey,
You've got like the
episode of
most
Star Wars.
the most accomplished IMDb.
Yeah, without
record
really
ever.
being in it.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
You've
It's
done
like
it.
I always feel like when I
Yeah.
get on these things, I won like a radio contest or something. Like, hey, play a. I don't even know what the reference is in Star Wars. I was gonna say play a stormtrooper, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you nailed it. See, you're in now.
All
right, that is our news of the week. Let's head right into Cantina Chat. Okay, Todd, what have you been up to?
Not too much. Trent loves Attack of the Clones. Like, he loves it. And that's not really the popular opinion about most Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
But he really loves that kind of Ben-Hur kind of gladiator scene in Geonosis.
Yeah.
And his favorite creature right now is the Acolyte. He just loves how it looks, how it sounds, and so we tend to watch that. And so we watched that this last week, and I mean, seeing it from his perspective, I get it, and it's just that. I do find these kind of gems, and still, and I like pointing out some of the Easter eggs with him. But yeah, it's always fun going back to that. But yeah, it's that Anakin's dialogue is just
awesome.
It's awesome. But yeah, so did that. Speaking about Mandalorian, I picked up Entertainment Weekly's Mandalorian cover. It's got the Mando helmet right in front. Great. It looks great. Quick little article in there. Dude, this thing is going to be magical. I cannot wait. There's a picture. This was floated around a couple weeks ago, but there's a picture of him fighting two Troshendans, that boss character. And when you look at it, it literally looks like a diorama. Like, it doesn't look real. It looks like action figures, but it's just the amount of detail, the way this is going to play out. Dude, I cannot wait for this thing. November 12th cannot come soon enough.
Yeah.
So, and the cool thing, we mentioned this before, but it's going to be released every week and not like dumped like Netflix style.
Oh man.
So that I think that's good because that gives us an opportunity to digest every episode. And
we're gonna have to add a segment onto our podcast.
I think it might be November till whenever the show's over.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll definitely either it's going to be the whole episode. Yeah, right. We got to trademark that right away. Let's go.
Yep.
So super excited for that. So there
awesome.
You go. How about you?
Oh man, I've just been doing my thing. Nothing too nerdy.
Okay.
I've got my Star Wars RPG group that I'm with.
Yes.
And it is a hoot.
JD is the dungeon master or whatever, taskmaster.
He's running the game, and he has been chomping at the bit to get back on the podcast. So next time we can squeeze him in, we will.
Yeah, exactly. We need to have him back on.
I've told him, and he doesn't believe me, but I told him that he is welcome back on the show anytime. It's just a matter of scheduling.
That's right. We'll get him back on the show, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah. And the other thing is, with JD and another friend, we've been going. I don't know how nerdy this is. We've been going hardcore into House of Cards.
Okay.
Because both JD and I have watched it before, but we have a mutual friend who has not. And as we're going through, we're picking up on personality traits of a lot of the different characters and like assigning them to ourselves and friends in our life, and it's quite hilarious.
I think that's nerdy enough, man. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
So for those who have watched the show, I have a lot of similarities to Doug Stamper, the chief of staff. Okay. So it's fun. It's just good time with friends.
Awesome.
And of course, Heather's got the night off with her friend, and she's working on that Jawa. So
we need to get that Jawa fully officially, blessed and into the 501st. So we're excited for her on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Aaron, I think we could talk about theories forever, but I think we will wrap this show up and definitely be talking more. I mean, we're in the final countdown here. It's happening. So let me put a little bow on this episode. Thanks again for listening to another episode of WSTR Galactic Public Access. Once again, check us out on the social media, WSTR Media, all one word, all lowercase. We want to hear from you, like Ro and Pat and Charles. You can comment, tweet, rate us on Apple Podcast, email us at mailbox@wstrmedia.com. Leave us a voicemail, 630-557-WSTR, 630-557-9787. We want to hear, you know what? Here we go. We want to hear those theories, man. So if you could do it in 5 minutes, put it on the voicemail. If you need to write a manifesto, that's mailbox@wstrmedia.com. And maybe we'll have it in the show and listen, we haven't heard of this one, and we gotta talk about it. So there you go. Once again, 630-557-9787. Leave us a voicemail and we'll play it on upcoming podcasts. You can check out all our back catalog of episodes, podcast.wstrmedia.com. You can find all our last 140, dude. That is crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so happy. But yeah, 140 and a couple other ones in there. You can check out our merch, store.wstrmedia.com. Like Aaron said earlier, we got everything there and more to come. So just keep on checking that stuff out. Winter is coming, so we have to, at least for us Midwesterners, we got to be prepared for that. So check that out. Dude, I can't believe that. I don't want to even think about that. But store.wstrmedia.com is where you can find all the merch. I know. Last week we teased Pete Fletzer from Around the Galaxy was going to join us this week. But, there's this thing about life and schedules. And unfortunately, he had a scheduling conflict and couldn't make it. But we will definitely try to get him on the pod very soon. Okay.
Yes.
Next week, episode 142. I'm just going to tease this right now here, people. we had to get permission from Lucasfilm to interview this person. So we are super excited about this one. Please stay tuned. Tune in next week. That's all I'm going to say. I'm super excited for episode 142.
I'm giddy with excitement.
So you're going to have to wait a week. Aaron and I won't have to wait a week, but you will have to wait a week to hear that interview. So, just tune in next week as well. So, Aaron, there's only one way to end this episode.
All right. Now, this
is
podcasting. I have a theory that we're going to travel in time and redo all of our episodes up until this point.
Better quality, better sound.
Yep. Yeah.